If it starts, will you shave your hair off?
I will actually. Was it really in any doubt that a Mercedes from the 90s wouldn't start? The only reason I had any doubts was because the battery that the car had in it had completely gone after several attempts of recharging. I decided I had to replace it. I managed to find a really good deal on GSF car parts. They were giving 60% off, which on a battery for this car costing anywhere between 150 and 210 pounds was worthwhile. So replaced the battery and started first time. As I mentioned, this is my car. I've had it for nearly 4 years, and I thought now would be a really good time to talk to you about the car that I own. But before we talk the specifics of this car, I just want to do a little bit of a history lesson on the SL itself, because arguably it's one of the most famous titles in the Mercedes brand, and it all started way back in 1954 with what could be considered the most famous, which was the 300 SL. Many of you know it with the gull wings, but it wasn't until 1957 that the long bonneted Roadster version really set the trend for these convertible SL. Two further generations were then released before this model, which included the W113 in 1963, which we can see Kate Moss here driving. Then followed the R107 in 1971, which we can see Jude Law here. Then in 1989, the R129, which is this model, was released. The design of the car is the work of Italian car designer Bruno Sacco, whose works include the lesser known C111 concept and the S600, but more commonly the W201 190, the W220 S-Class and the R320 SL. From day one, this car was a hit. Most infamously, Princess Diana was one of the customers, and it was a fairly controversial thing because she was the first person in the royal family to buy a non-British car. Other owners include Tupac Shakur and Han Solo himself. So let's talk about the car that I own. This being a 1995 model, there are some revisions from the early release cars. They're ones that happened before the main facelift that occurred in 1998. Externally, these include the de-ambering of the headlight indicators and body-coloured bumpers and the side panels, which where on the previous model were contrasting. At the front we have a large bonnet that can open to 90 degrees, which is really handy when you're on the tools. We have the Mercedes emblem on the grille that hides the bonnet release, which is a really nice touch. The trademark eccentric mono wiper blade rather than having two wiper blades, providing a bit of clutter. The side we have 3 vents behind the wheel arch, which were then reduced to 2 more rounded vents on the later facelift, and we have these really blocky looking 16-inch alloy wheels, which are ultra classy and very easy to clean. The low belt line, which runs just along the side panel, really helps the car have a slim side profile. It makes it look that much more superior and longer, almost like a stretched version of a convertible. We have the retractable aerial, which goes up and down as you turn on and turn off the radio system. And to the rear we have the trademark rib tail lights, which to do with safety, that when dirt gathers around the headlight you've always got that maximum vision of the brake lights. But on a car like this, I can't ever imagine, even on a long trip, them getting so dirty that would ever become that important. Finally, on the rear we have the SL320 badge alongside the Mercedes badge centrally. I think the font they've used is timeless. We still see that same font on the cars today. The boot itself, a lot of attention has gone into the boot and the way that it operates. The cover of the spare wheel itself has a nice strap and a latch to help you support it whilst you're getting the spare wheel up. It's complete with a Mercedes-Benz branded first aid kit and toolkit. Parcel shelf, which can be taken and replace the rear seats, is nicely held in place, and there's even a notched out corner so that in the event that you need to take it out, you're not having to pull against the parcel shelf itself. It's nice to have that gap so you can pull it out. And finally, the whole thing is carpeted, ultra luxury style. If they've carpeted the whole thing, there's nothing that's been left untouched. For the interior, inside, it's blue, completely blue. The dash is blue, the door panels are blue, blue carpet, blue leather. I believe the colour for the leather is royal blue, and I think even with a blue exterior, not having that contrast, it looks and feels fantastic. What you'd want a 90s car to feel like, looking at Bentleys and Rolls Royces of the same time, they've got green leather, red leather, with odd exterior paint choices, and I think that adds the eccentricity of the kind of owners that bought these cars for 70, 80, 90,000 back in the 90s. Some of the 1995 revisions include the removal of the analog odometer and replacing with the electronic, and there's a space for a mobile phone, an integrated mobile phone to be placed, which will go in the top panel just above the air vents at the front, above the center console. Almost everything is electronic, from the seats which adjust in 3 separate areas: the headrest, the center and the base. I think there's like 100 combinations of seat setting. Electronically lock the doors. You've got the light switches exactly where you'd expect them on your right hand side of the driver. You've got the climate control in the center. Everything on the center is mainly to do with the climate control. You've got the stereo. You've got the rollover bar, which has a button down by the driver. You've got the roof controls and the 2 window controls, as well as the side mirror adjustment switch. To declutter the center, the handbrake is actually foot controlled, so it's a foot brake. So you have your foot control, and then you have a pull lever on the right hand side of the driver. There are rear seats, but they are completely unusable. I'm about 6 foot and I'm sat in a comfortable position, and there's absolutely no leg room behind. Bizarrely, there's no glove compartment, which you'd expect to have on a Roadster for your driving gloves, but ultimately the storage requirements probably aren't that crucial in a car like this. Right, all that's left to do is go for a drive. Under the hood we have a naturally aspirated 3.2 litre engine, which produces around 228 brake horsepower and is good for 0 to 60 in 8.1 seconds. The engine itself is ultra smooth and, to use a cliche, creamy in its execution of getting through the gears. Whilst the 0 to 60 time of 8.1 seconds would be considered slow by today's standards, this car wasn't built for thrashing around on track days and blasting through the country lanes. It's a car for cruising gently. You can imagine in the 90s through Hollywood, from the Palace, those kinds of things. It's not a car for putting your foot down. It's just getting from A to B in the most comfortable and classiest way possible. It has a 80 litre fuel tank, and when you average with an average of around 20 to 25 combined, you're looking at 400 miles to a tank, which is quite good for a GT car. It's not the best, but it is quite good. Things that I like about this car are its superior refinement. Everything you touch, everything you can see is of superb quality, and the attention to detail has gone into every aspect of the design of this car. From the bonnet that opens 90 degrees to allow easy working, to the boot configuration, to the interior, to where all the components are, the buttons, absolutely everything is spot on, and even by today's standards, it's still very usable. The ride and comfort is 10 out of 10. I think you'll find it very difficult to find something as luxuriously feeling as this. Maybe a Bentley, maybe a Rolls Royce, but then again, they are top tier cars for that kind of thing. The things that I don't like are it can feel quite heavy and sluggish at nearly 2 tons and only 228 horsepower. It can feel a bit sluggish, and I think someone looking for a cheaper version of a 911 isn't going to find that same level of handling as you would with that car. This is purely cruising long distances, and I think that's what it's built for. Other things that I don't like, obviously the rear seats are completely non-usable. rather have over a slightly shorter parcel shelf, it does provide you the option to take people from a quick trip from the airport to wherever you're staying, that kind of thing. Very quick trips, nothing more than that. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you've enjoyed looking at the car, and if you've got any comments, please be sure to put them down in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel because there's more coming, and when things get back to normal, there'll be more videos on the way.